Hello guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are going to be tackling on one of the most difficult tracks in the calendar, and that is Zolder. Now if I had to explain Zolder in a couple of words, it's basically Monza's evil stepbrother. A lot of straights, a lot of chicanes, and also a lot of carnage. Now today we're gonna jump into the GT3 cars and try to tackle on this track, and hopefully we don't get involved into any carnage, as this track just produces carnage, especially when you have 20 plus cars on the racetrack. Anyways, we're going to see if we can survive the toughest track on the calendar. If you guys can, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button down below, help out the channel. Anyways, let's jump into it. Okay, so we're here for qualifying. I guess the main thing right here is try to not validate the lap. 7th in the lobby, not too shabby. That'd be worse. Yes, so we are here at Zolder, one of the most difficult tracks in the game. And this is the qualifying lap that we had to put in order to get ourselves somewhere near the front, as qualifying was just so important around this track. If you were able to get somewhere in the front of the pack, it just provided you a better opportunity to avoid majority of the chaos that unfolds. And not only that, it saves you a lot of time, as if you get stuck in the middle or in the back of the pack, then you just get stuck fighting with a lot of these guys as we get into one of the trickiest corners on the racetrack. Just missed that part. So what I was referring to there is on that chicane, it's just very difficult to hit that correctly. If you hit it just a pixel off, you're going into the sausage curb, and what that basically does is it launches your car and causes you to either spin, flip, or sometimes even just crash into another car. So we got down with the first lap here, and it put us in 4th place with a 127.9. Really good lap, but I feel like I could have done a bit better. I was pushing a lot more on this lap, and it seemed to go all right. Ran to the line, and we were able to improve just a tad bit, put in a 127.8. Okay, so not too shabby on qualifying. We're starting off in P6. Okay, so here we are for our very first race, starting off in P6. We actually were not able to hold off that 4th place position, but we don't get the best launch coming out of the chicane, and that just had to be due to the fact that we were starting on the left hand side. 2nd place car has to basically follow the leader into the chicane and just backs everything up. But luckily we were able to get single file going into the first corner, and that saved us a lot of time because we weren't really fighting with anybody, and we were just able to just focus on making sure that we hit our line, not lose too much time to the guys up ahead, and just get on with it basically. So already going into what I believe is turn 3 here, very difficult right corner. A lot of people go a bit wide typically when they go into that corner. We survive without any shenanigans, but as we go into the chicane for the very first time, you can see how much just bottles up there as we have an Audi spinning onto the inside, the first victim already of the Zolder racetrack. And as we try to go into the 2nd chicane here, we go into the inside to avoid making contact with the Porsche up ahead, but unfortunately we get tapped from behind, and us and the Porsche up ahead both get spun out, and just was not the start that we were looking for. We avoided chaos going into the first chicane with the Audi spinning out, but unfortunately going to the 2nd chicane, just things got bottled up, and unfortunately we were involved in that instance. So this race that could have been basically fighting for the podium has now turned into a last to first challenge, as we're going to have to do a recovery race here and try to make up as many positions as possible due to the fact that we just lost basically all of our track position. But luckily our car wasn't too damaged. We did have dirty tires, but it kind of cleared away after we crossed the start finish line. And now again we just have to basically be very careful as we work our way through this traffic, and hopefully we can make up as many positions as we can and just recover all the time and positions that were lost here off of that first lap. So heading into this hairpin right here, we had a Porsche up ahead that slowed down. I believe he had a corner cut penalty. So if you guys don't know, if you basically exceed the track limits or just cut a corner, it gives you about a 1-second penalty that you have to slow down for. And if you don't slow down, it gives you a black flag, which basically means you get a penalty. So you basically have to slow down for 1 second and give up your time in order to get away from that penalty. As we had another Porsche basically, I think, had the same exact thing happen to him. As you saw, he slowed down before the corner, and we're able to get another position gained right there. So 2 positions up from the incident that happened on lap number 1, so not too shabby. We're already on to lap number 5 here, just following the Audi and the Porsche up ahead. And it was just a little bit tricky here for me because I just was not used to this car. This was my second time, I believe, using this car, my second race that we did for the week. And I was just trying to get used to it, just figure out where the limits were at, how much I could push this car, and as well as trying to avoid making mistakes as the Audi up ahead, unfortunately, just goes a tad bit too hot into the chicane. Now, side by side into the second chicane, things can get a bit interesting here as we go in for the lunge. Side by side into the corner, make a little bit of contact with him as we go side by side once again into these double right-handers after the second chicane. And lucky for us, we were able to keep it on the inside. The Audi just backed out and we were able to gain another position there. So 3 positions gained in 5 laps, and things are looking really promising as we have a spinning Audi up ahead, as I believe he got tapped from the rear by one of the cars up ahead. And that gains us another position here. So Zolder basically showing why it's one of the most difficult tracks in the game. Is we have a Porsche up ahead, almost losing it, going straight into the gravel and into the grass. That's going to allow us to catch up to him tremendously here as we work our way down to the first chicane once again. And that helped us out a lot as he basically almost lost the car. And we were able to close up the gap now as he's going to be under threat from us here shortly. But yeah, just showing you why Zolder is just a difficult track. You could see that majority of the time you're just trying to survive and avoid touching the grass and getting hit by other cars. It's just a track that it's very quick, a lot of sharp hairpins and chicanes that leads to you either sometimes overdriving the car, and if you overdrive the car, it's very unforgiving as you get launched up by either the sausage curb or you're going into the grass and spinning out. So just have to be very precise with your driving, but not only that, be very aggressive as well, because if you're not driving this track very quick, you basically become under threat like how we are doing to this Porsche up ahead. So you just have to find that fine balance of driving very precise, aggressively, and just be quick as well as we make our way now into the hairpin here. Onto the hairpin, we go onto the inside, go in for a lunge, a dive bomb, licking the stamp and sending it. Danny Ricciardo will be pleased with that. And we make a little bit of contact with the Porsche here. It's still side by side. We haven't gotten the move done 100%. But as we make our way into the final chicane here, we go a little bit too aggressively onto the inside, make a little bit of contact with the Porsche, almost spin out ourselves. And luckily, we were able to survive that little incident there with the Porsche, and we were able to get another position done here as we are now leading our way into the final couple of laps here and catching up to the guys up ahead. So I wish we would have had a few more laps more on this race as we were catching up to this pack up ahead. I think I just got too caught up fighting with the Audi and the Porsche, but towards the end of the race here, this is where I was really gaining a lot of pace. And I was really starting to figure out the limits with this car and just finding a lot of speed through, especially the third sector, as that was the one that was really struggling on. And yeah, we were just able to close up the gap here as this is now the final lap here. And you can see how much closer we were able to get to that pack up ahead. Plus they were fighting with each other, so that really helped out a lot. But unfortunately, due to the fact this was the final lap, I had to just push as much as I could on this final lap and see if we can close up the gap even more. Maybe if one of these guys accidentally make a bad corner, get launched up in the air or spin out, we can easily get another position here, as that was my, I guess, game plan for this final lap. Just be as close as we can, so if there is an incident, we can capitalize on it. But unfortunately, as the time was ticking here on this final lap, we just couldn't do anything. And as we make our way into the final chicane, a little bit of carnage going on up ahead as there's a little bit of contact, but maybe with just 1 or 2 more laps, we could have gotten another 2 positions or maybe got around these 4 cars, but it's just way it ends. And that was our first race done. Okay, so going back on this, just brake late. Was not expecting to go down there. I was not looking at the mirrors. I was trying to see if I could brake as late as I can. Yeah, just too many cars, I think, going into one spot. Like I said, I did not know he was down there, but it happened. So we'll try again the next race, see if we can get a better result. Okay, so race number 2. So starting off in 8th position, we get a decent start once again. Get single file before going into the first corner, which is always welcome. Again, don't want to go side by side into this corner because it can easily lead to getting pushed out or just losing a lot of time, as we almost lost the rear there going into the first corner. And as we make our way now down into turn 2 and turn 3, that dreaded turn 3, we just get single filed here, stay right behind the BMW, make sure that we avoid making contact with him. And as you can see on this lobby, it's a little bit more closer. Cars are a lot closer nose to tail. As we make our way to the chicane for the first time, we tried to set a dummy up here for the BMW, but kind of had nowhere to go. We just had to follow suit and accidentally right there make contact with the sausage curb, launch the car a little bit up off the ground, but wasn't too bad. As you can see already on the map, the incidents that have occurred right behind us, as a lot of cars have been separated due to the fact that some guys behind us lost the rear and got involved in some incidents. But luckily for us, everyone ahead has been able to keep it clean, and we were able to survive the first lap without much drama going on. But as we make our way now into the second lap here, you can see that one of the Audi just takes the curb a bit too aggressively, turns in a bit too early, gets launched into the air, and that allows us to get around him on the inside the turn into the outside basically. And we gain 1 free position as we now get pushed up into P7, and that is exactly what we needed there, especially because now, as you can see in the mirror right behind us, there is nobody behind us, as they got kind of jumbled up behind, and that gave us a lot of breathing room here. So now we could just focus on everything that's going on ahead, not have to focus on cars trying to just lunge it in on the inside on some of these chicanes, and just put into just quick laps, stay with the pack up ahead, and avoid making costly mistakes. So as we work our way now into lap number 6, nothing was really happening for a majority of the race, but you can see that the BMW was starting to pull away right ahead of us, and I was just trying to do everything in my power to find extra time here, as we were losing a lot of time to that BMW up ahead, and I just wasn't able to really locate where the time was going until probably the end of until the end of the race basically. And where I was basically losing a lot of my time was through the hairpin and through the second chicane. There's a second chicane on the exit. For some reason, I just could not get the power down, and as well as on the final chicane, I just could not get the power down. I don't know if I was just taking the incorrect line or what, but it just was not doing well compared to the BMW, and that's where I was losing majority of my time. During the first sector, I was doing all right. I was able to keep up with him, and we kind of matched evenly on pace. But once we got into that second chicane, the hairpin, and that final chicane, that's where majority of my time was being lost, as I was trying to brake early, I was trying to brake later, just doing everything possible, turn in early, turn in later, and unfortunately just could not find that secret sauce that those guys up ahead had, and it was just costing us a tremendous amount of time. It was costing us basically about 2/10, and when you have 2/10 building up over 10-11 laps, that can easily lead to a lot of a big gap there, as it can basically transition into 2 seconds. So making our way now onto lap number 11, we weren't really catching up to the BMW, but we were keeping somewhat with pace, and it was starting to encourage me a little bit, because I don't know what happened here, but the car up ahead, I think it's a Porsche with the yellow rims, was kind of not keeping up with pace. I don't know if his tires went off or what, but he just was struggling a little bit here towards the end of the race, and that was actually helping us out a lot, because that was pushing back the BMW up ahead and the Lamborghini as well. And what that was going to allow me to do is hopefully by next lap catch up to them, and maybe we can get an overtake done. So making our way now onto lap number 12, we go into turn number 1, and you can see right there that the BMW loses it, goes back into the track, and unfortunately we have nowhere to go. Brilliant. Sucks that the car is running fine. There's literally nothing wrong with the car. So although there was nothing wrong with the car, we still got a black flag from iRacing, and they wanted us to come into the pits because our car was terminally damaged. And as we try to go to the end basically with this damaged car, we had to come into the pits, and basically fix it up. If not, iRacing was going to give us a penalty. And not only that, you can see that we were losing a lot of grip. So we come into the pits here on the final lap of all laps. So it's just very, very detrimental. Go into the pits.
Oh, I guess race over. Oh, wow. I didn't realize the car was that bad. I should have turned more left. I just didn't know if he was going to keep spinning out or what. Because it almost looks like he's going to continue going right. And then all of a sudden he goes left. But I'm not sure if he's just trying to correct it again or what. But yeah, it's just a misjudgment. So you see, he spins it out, continues going right. Yeah. In hindsight, like when you're looking at it, it just looks so easy. Like just go to the left, but yeah. in the heat of the moment, it's just a lot more difficult to make that split-second decision.
All right, so we had 2 bad races where we started off in the middle of the pack and just got unlucky. Now, let's see what we could do here when we actually start off in the front of the pack. As we come off of the final chicane, green flags are away, and you can see that the pole position driver just was able to get a huge run off of the chicane. We got a really, really bad start, but side by side into the first corner, this is exactly what we didn't want. As you can see already that the Audi up ahead, it's just pulling away. We're just doing everything in our power to try to get ahead of the Porsche. And as we make our way now into this little small right-hander of the second corner, we lose the rear end, try to keep it away from everybody else, go spinning into the wall. And that was basically race over for us, as we got terminal damage, had to come back into the pits and take that walk of shame down pit lane and make our way down to the pit stop. Just can't catch a break. Okay, so for our final race of the day, if all of the sports movies that I've watched, this should be the race where we end up either winning or finally finishing in a good spot. So starting off in P12, not the best starting position, but at least we get, again, single file going into the first corner. So that is at least objective number 1 done, as we almost get taken out immediately by the torpedo of a Porsche right behind us. But luckily he was able to get woed down and we were able to avoid getting taken out from him. So that was first avoidance done of the race. And I feel like we have a lot more going on, or that is going to come up in this race shortly. So heading back into the first chicane, everybody somehow makes it through without any incident. And lucky for us, we were able to get through there without any incident as well. And as we make our way now into lap number 4, nothing really happened past lap number 1. We fall into a little bit of a good rhythm here, as we're now up into P10, and we just start following this McLaren up ahead. Just try to find our little groove here, make sure that we don't get into any shenanigans. Just make sure we don't overdrive the car and see if we can keep up with the McLaren and finish at least somewhere in a decent spot this race. So as we make our way now down the second chicane here on lap number 6, we started getting crept up by a black Porsche right behind us that was finding a lot of pace here on this race. And again, where he was finding majority of his pace was through that second sector and the third sector here. As you can see, going through the hairpin, he just closes the gap tremendously, and that just was my biggest issue here on this racetrack. I just could not find pace going into the second and third chicane. But lucky for us, that McLaren up ahead gets onto the sausage curb and launches the car. That McLaren made a huge mistake. We could potentially get close enough to go for an overtake one of these corners. So after that mistake, we were able to catch up to the McLaren, close the gap up, but he had so much pace where it was still very, very difficult to get around him. And not only that, we had a hot Porsche right behind us that was just all over our rear bumper. And as laps were starting to wind down here on this race, it was starting to get more and more dire here, as we just had to keep up with the pace of the McLaren and maybe force him into another mistake, as he was not the most consistent driver. He had a lot of pace on him. He was a lot quicker than us, but consistency wasn't his key. And unfortunately for us, we almost lose it right there. As you can see, we go a tad bit airborne into that chicane. And I was looking in the mirror right there on the Porsche, just making sure that he wasn't going to go for the overtake. As we go into the chicane, tried to go for a dive bomb there into the corner and just was not ready for that. I wasn't expecting him to actually go for it. I saw he was going to the inside, but I wasn't expecting to actually try that dive bomb move into the corner. And unfortunate for us, we get a 4x X here for incident points here, and we get a little bit of contact in the rear. So coming out of the second chicane, 2 laps to go left in this race. We are going our way into the hairpin, and we spot our braking point here as we just weren't clashing up to the McLaren. But as we make our way into the hairpin, the Porsche dives into the inside, torpedoes his way into the corner, and we had to take evasive action. If not, we would have gotten punted out of the way, as he just kind of scoots us over through the middle of the corner, uses us as a brake, and unfortunately for us, we lose that position. As he does say sorry, but already the damage has been done, and he just continued driving off on his merry way. So we just had to accept the fact that he went in for a torpedo move, made it work, and unfortunately we just weren't able to really retaliate or anything behind him. But fortunately for us, up ahead there was a car that spun out through the first chicane. It was actually 5th place that spun out, and now this causes a little bit of a backup here as the McLaren caught up to that Audi very, very fast. And now he's all over his rear bumper. He's going to try to go for an overtake here through the hairpins. This is a great overtaking opportunity. He goes onto the outside, tries to cut it back, and loses the rear end. And due to that, the Porsche goes into the rear of the McLaren up ahead. And this is going to cause a lot of drama here on these final couple of laps, as we are starting to reel them both in as they go side by side into the chicane. We try to go for a little cutback here, but we just could not get the power down. And we lose a little bit of time here coming off the final chicane as we try to look into the inside, going in for a lunge, but just a bit too far back. We didn't want to torpedo our way into the first corner. Just couldn't find any possible way to get around the Porsche here on this opening part of the final lap. But as we make our way more and more into the lap, you can see that we just were not able to keep up with the pace of the Porsche. And as we make our way into the first chicane, this is where he was gaining a lot of time here as we try to get on the power early. We got a really good run to the corner, but he got a better run than us. And as we make our way into the 2 sectors that we were just really, really struggling on, you're going to see the pace difference on how fast they were able to get onto the power compared to us, and how much speed they were able to carry in through those double right-handers. And now as we make our way into the final chicane here, was thinking about going for a tap onto the Porsche. We accidentally go into the sausage curb, wanted to race clean here and make our way down to the line, and it is a P11, so not too shabby, but at least we were able to finish the race here without much incident.
Yeah, it just breaks a lot later than I do, and then if I don't get out of his way, then he's basically torpedoing me, because he was not going to make that corner. Like, he had the wheel cranked all the way to the right. Still no. All right, let's ride around with Christian, see what happened that produced majority of the chaos and drama that unfolded towards the end of the race. So he's right behind the Porsche. He brakes where he needs to. Does he turn into oh, yep, that's exactly what happened. Just turned in a bit too early, clip that curb, and if you clip it at the right angle, it basically launches your car. And I think that's exactly what happened here. So just got onto the sausage curb, and look at that. It was good to keep it out of the fence, because he was so close to making contact with the guardrail. So the McLaren's all over his rear after that mistake that the Audi made. It's on the outside. Oh, tries to go for the switcheroo, makes contact with the rear, loses the rear end, and the Porsche had nowhere to go. So that was my time here at Zolder. Again, one of the toughest tracks on the calendar, and hopefully this video shows you why it is just so ridiculously difficult to try to get around here, especially when you have 20+ cars on the track. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the content, again, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button down below, all the YouTuber stuff. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. Hope you guys have a great day, and until next time, guys, peace.